Can OCD be passed from parent to child? What do you think? Well, I've had a lot of experience working with children between the ages of 12 and 18 who had OCD tendencies, and I can tell you the answer to that question and a whole lot more in this video. My name is Nicholeen Peck. I'm a communications and parenting expert, and we're going to be discussing OCD and what can be passed on to other people in this video. Almost everybody thinks they have OCDs. In fact, I think if we took a loose definition of the term OCD, we would find that most people do have OCDs. There are certain ways, for instance, that I like to load the dishwasher. You know, there needs to be the bowls on one side and the cups on the other. I don't like them all mixed up. That gives me some sort of distress, and I find myself very compelled to move them back to where they go if somebody else did it the wrong way. I think all of us have little things like that, little idiosyncrasies, maybe things that bother us. They may not be fully OCD though, because a disorder is a little bit more intense, and people with full OCD probably think that those little things are just very mild OCDs. But even so, we do know that those mild OCDs can be passed on. So what about the full OCD behavior? And what is full OCD? An OCD is a pattern of unwanted thoughts and fears, so obsessions, that lead you to do the same behavior again and again, so compulsions. So it's unwanted. When I'm loading the dishwasher, I don't feel like that's getting too much in the way of my life. But when a person truly has an OCD disorder, they do not want to think that thing again, and they don't know how to stop it. And sometimes when they think about not thinking that thing, it just makes it worse. They try, but they can't. Now think of the TV show Monk. Have you ever seen that television show Monk? There's this detective and he has all of these different OCDs. He has to touch certain things. He won't walk on cracks in the sidewalk, much like a child would do. He has sanitation OCDs or fears. He wants to make sure that everything is sanitized all the time. And if he touches anybody's hand, he immediately sanitizes it and wipes it. These are OCDs. Now I'm thinking actually of our situation that occurred with the coronavirus pandemic and wondering how many people actually decided to develop mild OCDs just because of fear of that particular disease. I think there are probably a lot of people. So many people can have fears that lead them to change their behavior. But when a person truly has OCD, and it's the disorder, it's not something that's transient. It feels very fixed in their head, and to try to get it to shift or to move seems almost impossible. So can OCDs be passed from parent to child? The answer is yes and no. So yes, because the behaviors that we do around our children become their normal part of life. So they think that's normal. Why is the table always set that way? Well, that must be the only right way. And if mom is always saying, no, it has to be this way, then that is the right way in their mind. And so later in life, they're going to have that same desire to have that picture look the same to them. Also, if mom or dad has fears, and they're expressing those fears to the children all the time, then the child can develop the same fears. They can think, well, any good person, any leader, any strong person still has fears about this. They have anxieties or stresses about this. These are the types of things that overwhelm us. So when we're sharing all of those things with our children, they definitely can pass on to them. But sometimes our children don't have the same wiring that we actually have in our brain. So for them to develop the same type of maybe paranoia or the same level of fear, it might not happen. Because when a person truly does have real OCD, there is a type of processing glitch that happens inside their head that may not be there for your child, even if they do the same behaviors that you do, or even think some of the thoughts that you have expressed to them in the past. So we don't know how each other's brains are processing. We don't know how our children are processing the things that we're feeding them, but we do know that we are training them. Everything we say, everything we do becomes the lens they see their lives and their future through. We have to remember that. So that means it's a really good idea for a parent to learn how to manage their own OCD if they can. Now, I don't mean to suggest with my previous definition that it's not possible to manage OCD, because it is. In fact, working with the teens that came to my home who had OCD, we had marked progress. Now that doesn't mean the thought isn't still there from time to time, but a person can learn to give themselves a no answer. They can learn not to follow that OCD thought and to step away from their comfort zone and do something they wouldn't normally do. I love that again in that TV show Monk, we see him do that periodically. Even though he's got the thought, even though he's got the fear, he's got his friend there telling him, you can do this, Adrian, you have to do this. And so he will take a step out of the comfort zone and he will do something. And he sees that he's able. That doesn't mean he likes that thought process. That doesn't mean it felt comfortable, but he was able to do it. And as parents, if we've got an OCD that we do not want to pass on to our children, or just thoughts we don't want to have them deal with later, then we need to make sure that we are giving ourselves no answers for verbalizing those thoughts, and that we try to make those thoughts go away. We've got to drop the subject about them. That requires a bit of self-government. So I teach people all over the world the skills and tone of self-government. There are key skills that a person who's mastering their OCD needs to learn. And you can find more about those skills on a lot of the videos in this channel. I think the next video that would be the most helpful to you is the video called The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success. I think you'll see where you might fall into a thought pattern that actually damages your day and maybe even the day of your children. But there's certain things you can do that actually are quite small but make a huge impact. And this could make a difference in how your whole day goes and how the future of your children goes as well. So click on that link now. We'll see you in that video.